The Fall of the Roman Republic, Part 3: The Rise of Caesar Augustus. After Caesar's death, there was chaos within the Senate and the people. They burst out the door crying out that they had slain the king, or tyrant. There were 5 men positioned to inherit Caesar's power: Mark Antony, Octavian, Decimus Junius Brutus, Lepidus, and Caesarion. Mark Antony was a relative of Caesar who helped him in the Gauls, and also served as several offices in politics. Octavian was Caesar's great-nephew who was sponsored in his early career by Caesar. Decimus Junius Brutus was actually one of Caesar's conspirators who helped him and served him in Gaul. Marcus Aemilius Lepidus was a military commander who served as Magister Equitum to Caesar. And finally, Caesarion is Caesar and Cleopatra's son, though he was not included in Caesar's will. The second triumvirate in 60 BCE was comprised of Mark Antony, Lepidus, and Octavian. The positions that they established for each other were that Lepidus would control Rome, while Antony and Octavian pursue Caesar's assassins. They also declared prescriptions against public enemies that outlawed those who opposed the triumvirs. After establishing positions, Antony and Octavian fought 2 battles against Cassius and Marcus Brutus, who were Caesar's assassinators. Marcus Brutus not to be mixed up with Decimus Junius Brutus. They're different people. And in 42 BCE in Macedonia, they defeated Cassius and Marcus Brutus as they committed suicide. Their defeated legions joined the forces of Antony and Octavian. After this, the triumvirs divided territories. Antony governed the east, Greece, Asia, and Egypt, whereas Octavian governed Sardinia and Sicily, and Lepidus Africa. Although at this point Antony and Octavian were both trying to ease Lepidus out of the alliance by charging him for aiding Sextus Pompeius, who is Pompey's son, who was an anti-Caesarian and who committed piracy. Now they had new tasks, which were Mark Antony would go and pursue Caesar's legacy of invading Parthia, and Octavian would establish colonies for veteran soldiers. In 41 BCE, Mark Antony met with Queen Cleopatra of Egypt and Tarsus. He thought he'd look good invading Parthia with her at his side. After meeting with Cleo, she and Antony became allies as well as lovers. They went together to Alexandria in Egypt to gallivant, and as a consequence, this delayed Antony's campaign to Parthia. Antony's preparations in the east was once again disrupted in 40 BCE in the Perusian War. Octavian divorced Claudia, who was Fulvia's daughter, who is Antony's wife. This broke the alliance of Antony and Octavian. Both Fulvia and Lucius Antonius, who was Antony's brother, marched on Rome to support Antony in his fight against Octavian, Octavian's land resettlement policies that Fulvia did not like. Octavius put them in a siege, but Fulvia escaped and died of an unknown illness. Both Octavius and Antony's troops met in Brundisium, and to avoid another civil war, they blamed all their troubles on Fulvia. Finally, in 36 BCE, Mark Antony finally launched his campaign to Parthia, which was financed by Cleopatra. He had 200,000 men. However, his campaign failed, and he lost 20,000 of his troops. He advanced a second time in a second invasion, this time successfully conquering Armenia. And in 34 BCE, he and Cleopatra celebrated their triumph in Alexandria, which is a place in Egypt. In 33 BCE, the second triumvirate ended, as propaganda of Octavian waging war on Antony surfaced. Antony's relationship with Cleopatra also made this inevitable. Antony married Cleopatra, and Octavian used this to his advantage by creating propaganda against their relationship. He made Antony look un-Roman for associating with Cleopatra. The Battle of Actium in 31 BCE. Marcus Vespasianus Agrippa, you can just refer to him as Agrippa, was Octavian's lifelong friend. And Agrippa went to naval war with Antony, who set his base in Actium west of Greece. Antony was at a disadvantage in naval battle, but historian Plutarch writes he was forced to engage in the naval battle by Cleopatra. Agrippa outmaneuvered him, and so Antony tried to escape and sent Cleopatra and her treasury to the head of the fleet. Though Agrippa realized his objectives and cut the fleet off, and they fought for 10 hours till the rising seas forced their capitulation. At Actium, Antony lost 5,000 men and 30 ships. Octavian exploited this as Antony's cowardly fight. In 30 BCE, Octavian invaded Egypt, and Cleopatra fled to the mausoleum. Antony, thinking Cleopatra was dead, stabbed himself with his sword. Later on, Cleopatra too committed suicide from supposed poisoning. The end of the Republic. After Octavian returned to Rome, there were 2 settlements. In the settlement of 27, Octavian gained the name Augustus, meaning revered one, and in the second settlement, he was granted power of tribune, tribunicia potestas, including his sacrosanctity. He also got imperium and exercised his power across all provinces, and the Senate. Augustus led the Roman Empire till his death in 14 BCE.